We got our pork back from the butcher shop, and I had him leave all of the typically smoked or cured meats uncured and just fresh. So we did 2 big pork bellies, and then they did the hams in 2 segments each. So we've got 4 big hams bone in and 2 pork bellies that are all fresh, and we're gonna smoke them. So I've got the pork bellies have been salted and a little bit of a brown sugar rub for about 24 hours. My goal is not to get a full salt cure on them overnight. That's why I'm only doing it about 24 hours. I just want to pull some of the moisture out of it and try to firm up that fat content just a little bit, and maybe infuse a little bit of that rich molasses quality of a dark brown sugar. So I did that with the pork bellies yesterday, so they're ready to go on today. The hams have been rubbed down the same way this morning, and I was going to do them all together, but I just can't fit it all. So I'm going to go ahead and do the pork bellies first, and then depending on how the time goes for the day, we may throw the hams on and let them finish out into the night. Not overnight, but into the night. My goal with each one is to hit 160 degrees internal temperature, get a good smoke on there for a while to get a really nice flavor in there, and then otherwise just get them up to that temperature nice and slowly. I don't want to char anything. I don't want to over grill anything. I just want to get a nice smoke on there and get them up to temperature so that they've got the flavor and got up to the full cooked smoked ham, smoked bacon quality. And then we'll go to slicing another day. So right now I'm going to start at the charcoals. I've got just a small pile that I'm going to get started and get them going. While they are getting up to temp and getting heated up and getting a good coal bed started, I'm going to go harvest a couple of apple branches that I know I've got a source that I've already had cut and everything. So I just got to go get them and then make sure that they're chunked down into chunks that I can throw onto the charcoal to start smoking them. I will soak them in water. They're dried and cured, but I'll soak them in water before they go on so they smoke out nicely. Alright, that's going to take just fine. There's plenty of coal started on there and they're piled up well, so leave that on a full airflow. Get those things started and going good. Got a whole bucket here if I need a couple more. I'm almost thinking, since we're going to have the smoker going, I might grab some ribs out of the freezer and throw some ribs on there for supper. Let them slow cook for a while. But I'm going to go get the apple wood real quick. Alright, we are up to 380. Nice white, red, hot coals going. Got my chip ready. So this is apple wood that I harvested, I don't know, a year ago. It was green a year ago. I peeled the bark. The bark can kind of give a bitterness to the smoke. At least that's what I've been told. I've never personally left the bark on and tried it, so that's usually the part of the smoke that stinks and stings the worst. So I just kind of cut them into like 3 to 4 inch lengths, and then I split that down into chunks and soak that, and I'll set them on there and they'll form up a nice coal. And the more they soak, the better that smoke will get. Now for the pork bellies. I think I'm gonna start them. Meat side down. I was really unsure if I was going to be able to fit them both on here. And I did trim them out a little bit, just so they would fit better. That's a couple of nice fat slabs of pork belly. I'm leaving enough room on the side there, a little bit in the center, and on this side here for the smoke to still move around. These other cutoffs, I'm going to put them up on the upper rack so that I don't crowd too much and choke everything off. But I definitely want to get all of it moving at the same time here. The little bit of juice, that's mostly sugar and salt residue, and then any moisture that's extracted out of there, I'll pour back over that slightly here and there, just to keep that juices all in there and keep it moist. I want the bacon to cure. I want it to get up to temp, but I don't want to just dry it out and fry it hard. So sir. That one's there. My target is 160. Just to make sure that it's fully cooked through. I'm not trying to turn this into smoked brisket. I don't want to be on there long enough to do all the tenderizing and falling apart kind of stuff. I want to keep it intact for that, so I want to get plenty of smoke on it. So loud. I don't know if you can tell, but down there at the end of the driveway where the road continues up, it's like torrents of water coming down the road. It's just splashing up, big old muddy water, which is great because I've been watering the garden, so that's awesome. I still have water on and I can't even get down there right now. Well, that was unexpectedly crazy. That put down so much water so fast. Big old hailstorm and thunder and rain like crazy. And I was all worried about water in the garden today. So I've been flood irrigating the tomatoes and peppers. And was just about done. Look at all that water. That's our potatoes and onions and beets and zucchini, and it's in a flood pocket now. All this water washing down off of this. But I still had the water on. Had it set for another 15 minutes and I was gonna go turn it off and switch to a different garden bed. Now I gotta put on mud boots and get down there and turn it off. Still staying in the rows, but I'm sure it's washed out the end and blown out and running down. Yeah, it is. I can see it. Well, I don't suppose I'll worry about watering anything the rest of the day. Probably not even tomorrow now. Hail pockets. Oh my gosh. Turn that off. Well, everything there got a good drink. Everything here that was going to get watered is all set now. Let's check the temperature on those. So the last time I checked, we were there on one of the small slabs. So we were like 2 to 3 degrees low on 1 or 2 of the small slabs. One of the slabs on top was there. The slab on the right that's close to the intake was like 1 degree off, and the slab by the outlet was like 4 or 5 degrees off. So I'm going to check it again. If the top ones are done, I'm going to move them over to this side, which is not heated right now, but I'm going to just move them over to that side to kind of cool down and let them slowly cool. The one that's I think is probably done, if it's not quite but real close, I'm going to move it to the top rack and move the other one across the center so that it has a more even movement of air and heat, and we'll get it there. And then I think while that's finishing out, I'm going to go up and get the hams and get them down here. So let's see. I'm just probing this into about the thickest part I can get it. Give it a minute to normalize. Yeah, so we're 149 there. Switch that around a little bit. Seems like, let's see where we're at here. So, yep. Oh yeah, definitely there. 61, 160. That one actually seems like it's probably done. Yeah, that one's done. It's just this one, the fat, thickest part of it doesn't quite seem to be there. Let's see where we're at now. Well, maybe I just wasn't reading it well. So now I'm reading 172. 164. Yeah, that's all done. Yeah, that's all definitely done. And some of that spots are reading 178, 180. So we're good. I'm going to move this stuff off now. Let it cool. Over on this rack, covered. Let any of that fat recongeal. Cool down. Consolidate. And then get a good picture of what them look like. You can see when I had it this side down, they were a little bit hot for a minute. That's okay. That'll just trim up nicely. It's gonna make some really fabulous bacon. Basically, it's been cured and cooked. Now, like I said, I wasn't worried about getting a full salt cure on it because the smoking was going to be the point, was to get it smoked and up to temperature. So now it's safe, completely safe. That's the kind of bacon you can even eat when it's cold because it's already been pre-cooked and everything's set. So that's going to be great. I'm going to go up and grab the hams while this gets another bed of coals going. Probably even put a few more chips on the bottom of that first. Let's see. Yeah, there's a few more in there. Another spot or two. That's mostly grease flare from the fat drippings. But that will choke right out and that flame will disappear and those charcoal will get going again. Alright, so while I went up there and got that, I left it kind of half open and we're now up to 390. So I choked it off. I could see some glow of flame coming through there. So we've gotten those new lumps of applewood on fire, and they've gotten started. So now that I've choked it out, it's already dropping down. It's already almost 350. So choke that out for a minute before I open it, because if I opened it right now, it would flare right back up with all the oxygen. So I'm just going to give it a minute and let that kind of come back down. And then we'll figure out how to put these hams on there so they fit. Got two that are the upper section of the ham. So it's like the H bone down the leg a little bit. And they're about 4 or 5 inches thick. I'll probably put them to the back. And then the other is the rest of the leg with the hock intact. So I'll probably put those toward the front so I have room for the leg to stick up past that top rack. Alright, let's get those on there. I knew that would flare up a little, but this is not going to be too big of a deal as long as it... Man, maybe those are going to fit. Maybe. Let's see if we can close that or not. Kinda. I also have a slab of beef ribs I'm going to put on there, because this is going to have to go slow and low for a while. Those hams are super thick. If I go too hot with it too quick, then they're just going to char and get really, really grilled and cooked. And I don't really necessarily want that. Wouldn't be the end of the world, because I would just trim that cooked part out and chunk it down as like a, I don't know, I guess you would consider, I don't know, is that considered like a burnt ends kind of part? But I would just chunk that down and pack that up separately, and then I would start slicing the ham as the meat, as the lunch meat that we want to slice it. So keep that right in that 200, 220, and we'll see how that does. It's coming up to temperature again finally. So I'm going to take a minute and put a little sauce on them ribs for dinner. This is some of my hot pepper sauce that I made last year during canning season. And I took every last pepper left in the garden.
Let's make some ham sandwiches.